Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today to make this quick and easy cactus AirPod case. Any of you who follow my social media or my shop know that I love to crochet plants. I love to crochet period, but plants are probably my most favorite thing to crochet. Here are a couple just sitting on my desk that I've been working on lately. So I thought it would be really fun to go ahead and crochet a new AirPod case for myself. And only appropriate would be to make it a cactus. So you will need for this project some worsted weight yarn. I'm using this light brown. You can pick any color that you want for your pot. Same weight worsted green. This is just a little bit of green that I have left on hand from another project. I thought it would be perfect for this. And then some lighter weight number 3 yarns to make your flower for your cactus as well. You will also need a tiny bit of fiber fill for the spines, not much. This will probably be plenty for my project. An E-hook, a pair of scissors to trim away yarn ends, and I recommend a stitch marker. I'm simply going to use a bobby pin. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to make the bottom of the case first. So let's start with the light brown color. Make a slip knot. And chain 14. In the second chain from the hook, you're going to single crochet, and then you're going to single crochet in the next 4 chain stitches. Now, my case is a charging case, and I don't want to have to take my case off, or my crocheted case off of my charging case every time I charge my AirPods. So I'm going to make a little opening for the charger to go. If yours doesn't have, the charging case, then you can just continue to single crochet to the end of the chain row. I am going to skip the next 3 chains in the foundation row, and I'm simply going to chain 3 to do that. Skip these 3, and then I'm going to make 1 single crochet in each remaining chain stitch to the end. So a total of 5 should be remaining to the end. Now we will work the back of the foundation chain row. You do not need to chain to turn. Simply turn your work and start to work the back side. So we're going to do 1 single crochet in each of those foundation chain stitches on the back side all the way to the end. Okay, I'm going to slip stitch to the very first single crochet we made in our foundation chain row and chain 1. Now we will be working in rounds moving forward. So to begin, we are going to make 1 single crochet, and this is where I recommend using a stitch marker. Put the stitch marker in that first single crochet, and then we are simply going to make a single crochet in each stitch around. And we are going to continue that for a total of 5 rounds to complete the body of our AirPod case. I know that stitching into those chain stitches can be a little difficult. Take your time. There we go. Okay, we're coming to the end of this round. Your chain ones at the end of each round from your previous will not count in your stitch count, so just make note of that. So I'm at the end of the round here. I'm going to take my stitch marker out. You can see that chain one, that doesn't count, so we're going to skip that one. I'm going to join by slip stitching into that first single crochet of the row, chain one, single crochet in that first stitch, put my stitch marker back in, and proceed with single crocheting in each stitch around. So we'll complete this for a total of, we'll do 4 more rounds, we'll do 4 more rounds, so we'll end up with a total of 5 of those rounds. And you can see that your work will have a tendency to curl wrong side out. Just kind of as you get a round or so in, just push it so that your work is facing right side out. So go ahead and complete the remainder of these rounds and meet me back here, and we will begin to make the rim of the pot for the cactus. Okay, we are coming to the end of the 5th round of our single crochet stitches, and we're going to begin to make the rim of our pot. So go ahead and join to the first single crochet of the round, chain 2 this time, because we're going to be making half double crochets in the front loop of each stitch around. So yarn over, go into that first front loop of that next stitch, complete a half double crochet. I'm going to put my stitch marker in there and proceed around. So half double crochets in the front loop only of each stitch around the bottom of our case. We're getting to the end of that round of half double crochets on the front loop. Again, the chain stitches won't count in our stitch count, so here's our last front loop only half double crochet. And to complete the bottom of the case, we're just going to slip stitch in each stitch around. So join with the slip stitch, chain 1, and slip stitch around. Okay, once you're around to the end, your final slip stitch, go ahead and trim off, or you're going to fasten off, but leave a decently long tail of yarn for you to connect the top and the bottom of your case together later. You can remove your stitch marker and you can fold down that layer at the front loop only of your half double crochets. So you can see the back loops will still be there, and we'll use those actually when we connect the top of the case here in a little bit. But fold that down and you've made the bottom of your case, and you can go ahead and weave in your starting end, and we'll go ahead and get started on the top. Let's begin the top of our case with the green yarn. Make a slip knot and chain 14. Starting in the second chain from the hook, you're going to make 1 single crochet to the end of the foundation chain row. We are not going to chain 1 here. We're simply going to turn and then work a single crochet in the back side of the foundation chain, and each of those chain stitches to the end. Then I'm going to join to the first single crochet that we made in the foundation chain row with a slip stitch and chain 1. Single crochet in the first stitch and go ahead and place my stitch marker. Again, this is just very similar to making the bottom. The chain stitches will not count in our stitch count. And we're going to continue to just work in rounds at this point. So you're going to make a total of 3 rounds. This will be our first one where we single crochet all the way around. So go ahead and do that for a total of 3 rows. For a total of 3 rounds. Pardon me. Okay, we are coming to the end of our 3rd round of single crochets. I'm going to join to the first single crochet of the round, slip stitch, chain 1, and I'm going to slip stitch in each stitch around to finish off the edge of this top piece of our AirPods case. So simply slip stitch in each stitch around. Now when we get to the end, you're going to fasten off, and you can weave in both ends of the yarn, and then we will begin to attach the top piece of the case to the bottom piece of the case. For me personally, I feel like having my AirPod case handy, or pardon me, my AirPods themselves is handy during this step, because I like to go ahead and put the bottom piece of the case around my AirPods and then align the top before I sew it in place. It's not necessary. You can go ahead and pin them together, the 2 pieces, to attach, and the process will be the same. But if you have your AirPods, you're making them for yourself, I would recommend going so that alignment is just as perfect as it can be, doing it this way. All right, so I'm going to trim that off, fasten off, and weave in my ends. So go ahead, here's the top. Weave in your ends, then we're going to connect the two pieces. Okay, let's begin to attach the two pieces of your case, the top to the bottom. I'm going to start by taking my AirPods, and again, you can just pin these together if you would like, and that is totally fine. Since I have my AirPods here, I'm going to go ahead and put it in to join. So you have your tail of yarn left over on the bottom piece of your case. I'm going to thread my yarn needle with that end of yarn. And I'm going to take it back up so I'm here at the edge of my AirPod case. You can see now we have, from the round that we did the front loop, only half double crochets to make the rim of our pot. You can still see those back loops. So we're going to use those back loop stitches to help attach the top of our case. So let's go ahead and kind of slide the top piece on, which will be your cactus top. And to do this, I'm then going to take my needle up under one of those back loops and then up under both stitches of that slip stitch, that last round of slip stitches. And we're going to do this just all the way across. I'm going to pull that up, and I'm going to hide, because it's a different color and I want to hide it as much as possible, I'm going to go behind the back loop of that round of stitches above, and then go back through the two loops of the slip stitch, pick up one of those back loop only stitches with my needle and pull through. Grab a back loop only. We're going to just do this back and forth like whip stitching. So grab the back loop, go up under the two loops of that slip stitch, and then go behind to move one stitch over, go behind the back post of that stitch in the round above the slip stitches and pull over. Pull it a little bit and then go back down through that next two loops of slip stitches and grab the back loop only and pull it through. And we do that back and forth all the way across. And for the most part, you'll see that it will hide that brown while still connecting. So go over, grab a back loop, go up under the slip stitches, go behind the back post, and then down under the two loops of the next slip stitch, grab a back loop only. Okay, I've made it to the other side, so I'm going to complete this last stitch, and then I'm going to weave in my end. Take it back from the underside so it's hidden by that rim of the pot. Trim away the excess yarn. And so it's connected now, the two pieces. You can adjust it as you need it, but here's what it looks like so far. And you can see that you've got a little opening at the bottom for your charger. Okay, now here's where we can start to make it fun. We are going to put a spine or two on the cactus. You can make a face on your pot if you want to. Get creative, do whatever you like. I'm going to put the AirPods and the case aside and begin to make the spine for our cactus. So to begin, pick back up your green yarn, and you're going to start, I'm trying to get the knots out of mine. start by making a magic ring and 6 single crochets into that magic ring. And 6. Okay, now we're going to place 1 single crochet into the next stitch, or the first single crochet of that round to begin round 2. Use my stitch marker and increase in the next. So an increase is just 2 single crochets in this pattern into that next stitch. And we're going to repeat that sequence, 1 and an increase 2 more times until we have 9 single crochets at the end of this round. And then you are going to make 3 rounds of 9 single crochets. So just 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 3 rounds. And we're just working in continuous rounds on these pieces. Okay, we are coming to the end of that 3rd round of 9, and we're going to just simply fasten off, leaving a tail of yarn for attaching the spine to the top of our case. So you can tuck that yarn tail up inside your starting yarn tail, and here's where you just need a tiny bit, just a really, really tiny bit of fiber fill to push up in there. That is the bigger spine, so we're going to put that one off to the side and get started with the smaller one. Starts the same way, magic ring, 6 single crochets into the magic ring. And then just 2 rounds of 6 single crochets. So this will be the first, or the second round, pardon me, but we're going to do just 2 more. And remember to push your work if it's curling wrong side out. Push that starting tail back inside so the right side of the work is facing out. This is our last round of single crochets for a total of 6 at the end of this 3rd round. And we're going to leave a long tail to attach and fasten off. I'm going to make my starting tail just a little smaller. Tuck it inside, and you'll need an even smaller amount of fiber fill, hardly any, to tuck up inside there. See, hardly any at all. And now we'll begin to attach our spine. Okay, so we're going to start with the larger spine. Thread your yarn needle with that leftover tail of yarn and position it on the top of your case where you would like it to be. You can pin it in place if that's easier for you. You can put it anywhere you want. You can make as many flowers as you want. You can put this anywhere you want. I like to put my spine kind of right here on the edge. So again, if you have a straight pin and you want to pin it in place, you can. I'm going to try to just hold mine in place as we go. So to begin, I'm going to go behind the back post of one of these stitches on the top Oh, and I dropped it. Go ahead and pull that through first. Put it back where I want it. That's where pinning comes in handy. Pull it, and then I'm going to come up under 2 loops from that last row, or pardon me, round of stitches and pull. I'm going to go back into the same place that I had come out of down here and go up behind the next back post of that stitch next and grab 2 loops from the bottom round of the spine. And I'm going to do that all the way around, going back into the same point that I exited from, going behind the back post of a stitch, pulling it snugly, and then grabbing 2 more loops for from the bottom round of the spine until I have worked all the way around to secure that. Okay, once that is completely attached, I'm just going to weave my yarn tail in and trim away, dropped it, trim away the excess yarn and begin to attach the smaller spine. So here's what I have so far. And since this one kind of goes off this way, I would like the next one to go off in the opposite direction a little bit, kind of like that. So I'm going to go ahead and attach it in the same way. This one may be easier if you pin it in place, but I can just hear my kids every time I tell them to do something like calculated. They're like, "Oh, YOLO, Mom." Okay, I guess that's what I'm gonna do here. So I'm gonna hold that in place and attach the smaller spine. Okay, here we are so far, and we're on to the last step of making our flower. You can make your flower all one color if you would like. I like my flower to have a different colored center. So starting with the color that you want for your center, make a magic ring. And place 6 single crochets, or pardon me, 5 single crochets into the center of that magic ring. I'm going to tighten it a little bit, and I'm going to join to the first single crochet that we made. But before I finish the slip stitch to join, I'm going to pull up. I'm going to join in my other color, which suddenly got knotted. Super convenient. Bad thing about me using all these little ends of yarn, waste not, to make something like little flowers is that it gets knotted. Easy for me, at least, till the end, before the end. So join your yarn, pull up that loop, and make the slip stitch so you close in the last color, you close in the new color. Finish the last stitch in the old color, and you'll start the next stitch in the new color. Okay, slip stitch into the next stitch and chain 2. 1, 2. Half double crochet back into the same stitch and chain 2 again. 1, 2. And then to complete the petal, you'll slip stitch back into the same stitch and you've completed the first petal. And we're going to make 5 total petals. So slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 2, half double crochet back into the same stitch, chain 2, slip stitch back into the same stitch to complete the petal. Go ahead and continue to do that all the way around for 5 petals. And then we're going to fasten off. And here we have our flower so far. So you can weave in a couple of the ends, and if you want to sew your flower onto your cactus, you can, or you can glue it on, whatever is easiest for you. I'm actually going to glue mine on here in just a minute, but first I'm going to take that yarn end and pass it through the back side of the flower, like that, so that all of my yarn ends are on the back side of the flower. And then I'm going to tie a couple knots just to secure those ends before I either weave them in or use them to attach to the cactus. You can make as many flowers as you would like for your case. So go ahead and finish weaving in or tying them off and meet me back here, and we will attach our flower to the cactus. Okay, I'm just going to glue my flower on. Again, you can stitch your flower on, but I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue on the back of my flower, and I like it to go right at the bottom of those two spines off to the side. I'll let that dry. And that is it. You have a cactus AirPod case. I hope you enjoyed making this with me today. Feel free to personalize it as much as you want. Add more flowers, add a face to the pot. I'd love to see what you come up with. And thanks for following.